Top 10 celebs who tried to warn us about P Diddy. What if I told you that some of Hollywood's biggest names tried to warn us about one of the music industry's most powerful moguls, and we didn't listen? From cryptic interviews to public call-outs that were dismissed as jealousy or madness, these celebrities saw something the rest of us missed. Before Cassie's lawsuit, before the federal raids, before the world started asking questions, they knew. And today, we're counting down the top 10 celebs who tried to warn us about P Diddy. Number 3 will leave you speechless, and number 1, well, let's just say the receipts have been there all along. For decades, Sean Diddy Combs has been untouchable. A music mogul, a cultural icon, a billionaire entrepreneur who shaped hip-hop as we know it. But behind the champagne and the empire, there were whispers, allegations, stories that never made it past the gatekeepers of mainstream media. While the world celebrated his success, a select few dared to speak out, often at great personal cost. Some were labeled bitter. Others were called crazy. But as recent events have shown, maybe they were just telling the truth before anyone was ready to hear it. This is their story. These are the voices that tried to break the silence. 10th, Aubrey O'Day. We're kicking off this list with someone who's been sounding the alarm for years, Aubrey O'Day. You might remember her from Danity Kane, the girl group formed on Diddy's reality show Making the Band in 2005. What looked like a dream opportunity on TV quickly became, in Aubrey's words, a nightmare behind the scenes. For over a decade, Aubrey has dropped cryptic social media posts and given interviews hinting at manipulative and controlling behavior. In 2019, she tweeted about surviving situations that would have broken most people, pointing directly at her time under Diddy's Bad Boy records. When Cassie's lawsuit dropped in November 2023, Aubrey didn't stay silent. She publicly supported Cassie and posted, "Been trying to tell y'all for years." What makes Aubrey's warnings particularly haunting is how early and how consistently she tried to speak up, only to be written off as a disgruntled former artist looking for attention. She wasn't looking for attention. She was trying to warn us. But Aubrey wasn't the only one from Diddy's inner circle trying to pull back the curtain. 9th, Mark Curry. Mark Curry isn't a household name, but in the late 90s and early 2000s, he was signed to Bad Boy Records and had a front-row seat to everything happening behind closed doors. Unlike many who stayed silent, Mark wrote a tell-all book in 2009 called Dancing with the Devil, How Puff Burned the Bad Boys of Hip-Hop. In it, he detailed alleged financial exploitation, shady contracts, and a culture of fear within the label. He claimed artists were manipulated, underpaid, and trapped in deals designed to benefit Diddy while leaving them broke. Mark went on radio shows, did interviews, and tried to expose what he called a modern-day plantation system in the music industry. The response? Crickets. The book didn't make waves. Mark was dismissed as a washed-up rapper with an axe to grind. But everything he described, the power imbalances, the contractual abuse, the intimidation, aligns eerily with allegations that have surfaced in recent lawsuits. Mark Curry tried to warn us 15 years ago. We just weren't ready to listen. And speaking of people who were silenced before their time. 8th, Uncle Ron, Gene Deal. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard known as Uncle Ron, has been dropping bombshells in interviews for years. As someone who was literally in the room where it happened, Gene has shared stories that range from bizarre to deeply disturbing. He's talked about strange rituals, alleged violence, and behavior that he says still haunts him. In multiple podcast appearances, Gene has described incidents involving other celebrities' power plays and moments where he realized the person he was protecting wasn't who the public thought he was. One particular story involving a confrontation at a nightclub painted a picture of someone willing to use intimidation and force to get what he wanted. What's chilling about Gene's testimony is the detail. These aren't vague accusations. He names dates, places, and witnesses. Yet for years, his interviews remained in the underground podcast circuit, never breaking into mainstream conversation. Why? Because challenging someone with Diddy's wealth and influence is a dangerous game. Gene Deal knew that. He spoke anyway. But what happens when the person warning you is one of the biggest names in comedy? 7th, Cat Williams. Cat Williams has never been one to hold his tongue. And when it comes to the dark side of Hollywood, he's been screaming from the rooftops for years. In multiple stand-up specials and interviews, Cat has made cryptic references to powerful industry figures who operate above the law, exploit young talent, and engage in what he calls sacrificial behavior to maintain control. While Cat rarely named Diddy directly in early interviews, he spoke about parties, rituals, and the price of fame in ways that now feel like a roadmap to understanding the allegations we're seeing today. In a 2024 appearance on the Club Shay Shay podcast, Kat went even further, suggesting that certain moguls have been protected by a system designed to keep their secrets buried. The problem with Cat Williams is that his delivery is so outrageous, so over the top, that it's easy to dismiss him as conspiracy-minded or attention-seeking. But if you go back and listen to what he actually said, stripped of the performance, you'll find someone who's been trying to tell us exactly what's been happening. We laughed, we memed him, we should have listened. And then there's someone who didn't just hint at the truth, she tried to shout it from the stage. 6th, Jaguar Wright. If there's one person on this list who has been relentlessly, unapologetically vocal, it's Jaguar Wright. A former neo-soul singer who worked with The Roots and other major acts in the early 2000s, Jaguar has spent recent years giving explosive interviews about the music industry's darkest secrets. She's named names. She's described alleged abuse. She's talked about young artists being exploited and discarded. And yes, she's talked extensively about Diddy, alleging everything from financial misconduct to far more serious accusations involving minors and violence. Her interviews have been scrubbed from platforms, reinstated, and debated across social media. Here's the thing about Jaguar Wright: people want to discredit her because her claims sound so extreme. But as more lawsuits emerge and more alleged victims come forward, her once crazy-sounding allegations are starting to align with legal filings and witness testimony. Was she exaggerating? Or was she just the only one willing to say out loud what everyone else whispered in private? But sometimes, the warning doesn't come from an interview. Sometimes, it's hidden in plain sight. 5th, 50 Cent. You knew he'd be on this list. 50 Cent has been trolling Diddy for years, and while much of it has been packaged as jokes and Instagram memes, there's always been an edge to it, a knowing quality. Like he's laughing because he knows something we don't. From mocking Diddy's parties to posting cryptic messages about strange behavior, 50% has used humor as a shield to drop hints that would get most people sued. In the wake of Cassie's lawsuit, 50 Cent announced he's producing a documentary about the allegations against Diddy, with proceeds going to victims of sexual assault. This isn't trolling anymore. This is someone who's been trying to expose the truth in the only way he knew how, by making it entertaining enough that people would pay attention. 50 Cent is a master of media manipulation, and he's been playing the long game. Every meme, every joke, every sideways comment was a breadcrumb leading to this moment. But what about the people who were there from the very beginning? 4th, Mase. Mase was one of Diddy's biggest stars in the late 90s. Feels so good, What You Want, the shiny suit era. Mase was the golden boy of Bad Boy Records. And then, at the height of his fame, he walked away, became a pastor, disappeared from music. For years, people wondered why. Then Mase started talking. In interviews and on social media, he's accused Diddy of exploitative contracts, of owning his publishing, of refusing to release him even after he retired. In 2020, Mase publicly called Diddy out, saying he was offered just $20,000 for his publishing, music that has generated millions. But beyond the money, there's something deeper in Mase's departure, a spiritual reckoning, a sense that he needed to escape something that was eating at his soul. He's hinted at things he's seen, things he can't unsee. And while he's never detailed everything, his exit speaks volumes. Sometimes the warning isn't what you say, it's what you run from. We're in the top 3 now, and things are about to get even darker. 3rd, Biggie's mother, Voletta Wallace. This one cuts deep. Voletta Wallace, the mother of the notorious B.I.G., has never publicly accused Diddy of involvement in her son's death. But over the years, she's made statements that suggest deep mistrust and unresolved questions. In interviews, Voletta has expressed frustration with how Biggie's legacy has been handled, how his music has been exploited, and how certain people profited from his death while his family was left grieving. She's questioned the narrative we've been sold, and suggested that not everything we've been told about that night in Los Angeles adds up. Former LAPD detective Greg Kading, who investigated Biggie's murder, has said that Voletta once told him she believes Diddy knows more than he's let on. That's not an accusation, that's a mother's intuition. And when a mother who lost her son under mysterious circumstances starts asking questions, we should listen. But if you think that's shocking, wait until you hear who's at number 2. 2nd, Suge Knight. Yes, Suge Knight is currently serving a 28-year sentence for manslaughter. Yes, he's a controversial figure with his own dark history. But that doesn't mean everything he said is a lie. In fact, Suge has been consistently vocal about Diddy for decades, making allegations that were once dismissed as rivalry and bitterness. From his prison cell, Suge has done interviews claiming Diddy was involved in Tupac's murder, that he orchestrated hits, that he's a snitch who's been protected by federal authorities in exchange for information. He's described a man who hides behind a public persona while orchestrating chaos behind the scenes. The reason Suge Knight is at number 2 isn't because he's credible in the traditional sense. It's because even from behind bars, even with everything to lose, he won't stop talking. And some of what he said is now being corroborated by federal investigations and lawsuits. Suge Knight tried to warn us. We just didn't want to believe the messenger. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. Number 1. The person who tried to warn us the loudest and paid the ultimate price. First, Kim Porter. Kim Porter didn't write a tell-all book before she died. She didn't give explosive interviews or go on podcasts. But according to those closest to her, she kept records, journals, evidence, and she was afraid. Kim Porter died suddenly in November 2018. The official cause was listed as pneumonia. She was 47 years old. In the years since, those who knew her have spoken about her fear in the months leading up to her death, about how she told friends she had information that could destroy powerful people, about how she wanted to protect her children but also wanted the truth to come out. In late 2024, a book allegedly based on Kim Porter's diary entries began circulating, detailing alleged abuse, manipulation, and disturbing behavior. While the book's authenticity has been disputed, those who knew Kim say the stories ring true. Whether or not she wrote those exact words, the sentiment reflects what many believe she experienced. Kim Porter is number 1 on this list because her silence speaks louder than anyone else's words. She was the mother of Diddy's children. She was the woman who knew him better than almost anyone, and she's no longer here to tell her story. That, in itself, is the loudest warning of all. So there you have it. 10 people who tried to warn us. 10 voices that were ignored, dismissed, or silenced. From Aubrey O'Day to Kim Porter, the signs were always there. We just weren't ready to see them. The question now is, what do we do with this information? How do we make sure that the next time someone speaks up, we actually listen? Because the truth is, this isn't just about one man. It's about a system that protects power at all costs, a culture that values fame over accountability, and a society that only pays attention when it's too late. If this video opened your eyes, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an investigation like this. Turn on notifications. We're not done exposing the truth. And drop a comment below. Which celebrity on this list do you think was the bravest for speaking out, and why? Let's keep this conversation going. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed,